The composer Engelbert Humperdinck is remembered today almost solely for his opera Hansel and Gretel. Humperdinck was a brilliant student in Cologne and Munich in the 1870s, so much so that Wagner invited him to assist at the first performance of his music drama Parsifal in Bayreuth. Wagner's influence on Humperdinck was enormous, and as with many of his contemporaries, slightly debilitating. Humperdinck finally found his voice through the gradual composition of Hansel and Gretel. His sister had asked him to set some simple folk songs to accompany a production of a play based on the Grimm brothers' fairy tale. Gradually, Humperdinck added more music, first turning it into a Singspiel, an opera with spoken sections, and finally into a fully fledged opera. This gradual evolution allowed Humperdinck to avoid all the usual Wagnerian dead ends that had led so many of his contemporaries to compositional ruin. Composers had often become stuck by trying to tackle mammoth topics and stories, as Wagner had done in his cycle of operas, The Ring. But by starting with little songs, Humperdinck achieved a beguiling mix of folk-like simplicity and Wagnerian richness. The opera uses leitmotifs, which was Wagner's invention, in which each dramatic idea or character or mood has its own little fragment of melody or harmony. This means that many of the motifs can mix together in different ways, so that the orchestra is able to comment on the drama and reveal what is going on in the characters' minds without using any words.
Suse, liebe Suse, was raschelt im Stroh? Die Gänse gehen barfuß und haben keinen Schuh.
We all know the story of Hansel and Gretel. We meet them at the beginning of the opera, at their home alone. They're very poor, but happy. Their mother arrives and worries about what to cook for dinner. There's nothing in the cupboard. The children spill some milk. Mother goes crazy and sends them out into the forest. Then father arrives, a rather terrifying figure. He's a broom maker, and he sold all his brooms at the fair and is very happy, bringing back lots of food and provisions. Mother's delighted, but where are the children? The father tells of the wicked witch who lives deep in the forest. Realizing that that's probably where the children are, the terrified parents set off to find them. Meanwhile, Hansel and Gretel are alone in the forest. At first, all is well, and they fill their bellies full of berries. But then night descends, and the forest is full of strange noises. The children sing a prayer, asking angels to come and watch over them. And in one of the most beautiful moments in the opera, Humperdinck writes music in which all the creatures of the forest gently lay a wreath of leaves over the children to keep them safe at night. In this production, we welcome a wonderful puppet company called the Heart of the Beast Puppet Theatre from Minneapolis. When we think of puppets, we tend to think of little things over your hand, but these are 20-foot-high puppets that move around the stage, representing the benign forest beings. The next day, the children wake up safe and sound and come upon a gingerbread house, and the action follows the fairy tale. The witch lives inside the gingerbread house. She tries to bake the children in her oven, but Hansel succeeds in pushing her into the oven and baking her instead. It's during the witch's music that we hear Wagner's influence on Humperdinck most clearly. The witch's music is dark with a terrifying strength that recalls the giants and the Valkyries in The Ring. So the witch is toast, and Hansel and Gretel are free. So are hundreds of other children who are turned back from gingerbread into flesh and blood. For this performance, we're delighted to welcome the Jacksonville Children's Chorus. And we're also pleased to welcome a cast from Minneapolis and a production that I conducted there 5 years ago. In Germany and Austria, Hansel and Gretel is performed every year at Christmas time, and we're delighted to begin this holiday tradition this year in Jacksonville. This is a production which you can bring all the family to. It's sung in English, and we'll be semi-staging it, which means that there'll be lots of action and drama on the stage, but you'll also be able to see and hear our wonderful orchestra the whole time as well.